honestly, that if you get that trade offer, and it's actually more realistic in a fantasy league if Jonathan Taylor is, but that's a trade. That's the kind of trade that, like, if you got that in a fantasy league, like, hey, your injured, angry player for my superstar, you wouldn't even respond to the text. You would just post the screenshot of it to the group message board or whatever, or put it in a group chat, just saying, like, look at what Jay just tried to pass by me, whatever. Here, look at this ridiculous trade.
The NFL GM should have one of those, where Chris Greer can literally just screenshot the text and be like, "Did you see?
Come on.
Did you see what Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay tried to do to me?"
Yeah, I sort of feel like it's more Irsay than Ballard.
Yeah. Ballard is a very calculated, smart man.
Yeah, Ballard knows. Like, he's doing what he can. Jalen Waddle. But that's my point. Is like, how hard did Indy try to, to trade Jonathan Taylor?
What's the end game here? I just don't understand. If they're not negotiating in good faith, which if they're asking for Jalen Waddle, then they're probably not. What's the end game here? Is he just going to miss the first 4 games of the season on the PUP list and then maybe come back? Like, what is it? Is he going to play football this year? I just don't understand. I don't understand how this ends.
No, that's right. And we don't. The problem is that we have no, and we've talked about this forever. We have no concept as to actually how healthy Jonathan Taylor is, right? Like, is Jonathan Taylor 90% healthy? And like at the end of 4 weeks, he'll be great, ready to go, or is he 10% healthy? You know what I mean? And honestly, the only people that really know that are Jonathan Taylor and the medical staff of the Colts. And so I will tell you this. I moved him down to running back 27. I have no shares of Jonathan Taylor. So far, and I don't know that I'm going to. Like, because he gets into that running back dead zone range where there are other guys that you feel better of. Like, at some point, you just say, all right, screw it. Like, I'll take a flyer because if he doesn't play this year, then it doesn't matter because I've already got 2 starting running backs that I feel good about. But and if he does play, then obviously I just got a massive draft day steal. But
I'm with you. I don't know.
He was running back 17 last year on a points per game basis, and that was when he was playing. He's injured. Last year he missed time. Last year he was not a top 15 fantasy running back on points per game basis. And last year, by the way, he had a quarterback that isn't going to vulture touchdowns, which we think is going to happen with Anthony Richardson. We think the team is going to be better this year, so that does help. They'll be in scoring position more often, but just there's so many bad vibes. And yet, by the way, cut to him being traded to Miami for not Jalen Waddle, but maybe Cedric Wilson, and whatever. And suddenly, Jonathan Taylor, Miami Dolphins. Now you're excited. But this one just gives me bad vibes, Connor.
Yeah. How can it not right now? And I think if you are drafting him any earlier than where you have him ranked right now, Matthew, I think you're praying he gets traded at the trade deadline, which, Jay, brings us to the conversation. It doesn't seem like the Colts are actually genuinely interested in moving on from Jonathan Taylor. Yeah,
it's such a strange situation. And, I mean, some people, now we just think of Jonathan Taylor, we immediately just think of the trade and the mess. But we forget that in 2021, 1,811 rushing yards, rushing title by margin, 18 touchdowns on the ground, and also had 360 yards and a couple touchdowns through the air behind a bad offensive line with a bad quarterback. And he's 24 years old still. He could still be the best running back in football, but between the health, between not knowing if he's going to play football, where he's going to play football.
He's unhappy.
It's just a mess. And now we're in the situation where that stat line for still a 24-year-old, I might rather have Cam Akers in fantasy right now than Jonathan Taylor, honestly, because at least I know that he's going to play and be a lead back.
I have Akers ranked higher. So I thought there were some. Look, this is all super. We can just whip through this real quickly, but we got some clarity on some running back depth charts yesterday with some notable cuts, and like no one super surprising got cut. Patriots. So we'll talk about the quarterbacks, but that one was like kind of like okay. But no, just in terms of like you're always looking for insurance running backs. Just as we're talking about Jonathan Taylor. By the way, Zach Moss has a chance to return for week 1. He has that broken arm, but right now I think I'll probably have, unless we get more clarity between now and opening day, I will have Deion Jackson ranked higher than Evan Hull if you're sort of handicapping who's going to be the Colts running back for the first 4 weeks. The truth is I think it's probably more likely going to be a committee, and that the, quote, running back on the Colts you want is Anthony Richardson, right? I mean, he's a quarterback. But, like, that's the rushing the player that's going to rush the best on the Colts is Anthony Richardson. That's sort of my take. But if you're asking me for a running back, I'll take Deion Jackson right now.
Is Deion Jackson, is he a flex RB, low-end RB3 is currently constituted, that type of range?
Yeah, I mean, if we knew he was the guy. If he, remember last year he had 5 different games with over 13 touches. He had 2 different games with 75 receiving yards. There were 2 games where you knew like sort of he was the guy. When Jonathan Taylor was out from weeks 5 to 6 last season, he averaged over 20 fantasy points per game. He can be a 3-down back. We've seen some pass catching ability from him. We can see him go between the tackles. But again, it's a brand new coaching staff. Again, they also traded for Zach Moss midseason last year. They have Evan Hall, who they like. So it's again, like I said, if I knew in week 2, he easily could be a viable flex play if we see Deion Jackson get 70% of the snaps or whatever. But it feels like more of a committee at the moment. I'll have Jackson ranked the highest of the 3 going into week 1 unless we get some news. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.